Hey, I'm Mike Wolfe. Welcome to Antique Archaeology Nashville. Antique archaeology, we go the extra mile in a lot of ways to help people understand how this stuff matters. You know, even though you're not into antiques and you're not into collectibles, you can still find something in here that might resonate with you for one reason or another. There's a lot of people that come in here and go, wow, you have a gas pump? That's totally on brand for us, but the reason this pump is sitting here is because it's a snapshot in time it's really never gonna come again.
American Pickers made him well-known and wealthy. After that, everything fell apart. It cost $5.8 million for Mike Wolfe to get divorced. After they got into a fight, his friend Frank died. Now, for some reason, his store is closed. Fans also want to know if the show is real. The real Mike Wolfe is finally coming out, and it's not what you see on TV. There are fake fines and angry neighbors, among other things. Mike Wolfe was born in Joliet, Illinois, on June 11, 1964. He went to Bettendorf, Iowa, with his family when he was young. There, he grew up with his siblings Beth and Robbie. Rita, his mother, raised them by herself and worked hard to make ends meet. Wolfe never let the lack of money stop him. He found chances in places he didn't expect to find them. In order to avoid being picked on his way to school, he changed his path and went through backyards and streets. That's where he first saw things that other people had missed, things that people had thrown away. When he was only 6 years old, he saw a banana seat bike in the woods behind a neighbor's house. He took it out, cleaned it up, pumped up the tires, and put $5 on it. It wasn't just about the cash. How exciting it was to find something valuable where no one else had looked. That moment made him feel something. He spent more time looking for old bikes, furniture, and antiques as he got older. While the other kids played sports or watched TV, Wolfe was determined to fix up old bikes and broken chairs that he brought home. Because she knew how much he loved what he did, she let him use the family shed as a workshop. He wasn't just putting away trash. He was learning how to fix things up and sell them. Because he loved bikes so much, he opened a bike shop before he turned all of his attention to antiques. At the end of 2000, Wolfe chose to make his lifelong hobby into a business. He opened a store called Antique Archaeology in LeClaire, Iowa, which is full of interesting things he found while out picking. He spent his days looking for lost pieces of history in barns, sheds, and empty buildings. The business grew slowly at first, but when American Pickers started on the History Channel in 2010, everything changed. The show became a hit right away. People really enjoyed seeing Wolfe and his team find lost treasures all over America. It wasn't just about old things, though. There were stories about them, like the background, the skill, and the people who used to own them. As American Pickers became more famous, the field of antique archaeology grew. Wolfe opened a second store in Nashville, Tennessee, inside a rebuilt factory that used to make cars. It turned into more than just a shop. People who are interested in history could go there to connect with the past. Wolfe started his company with a simple thought: find historical items that have been lost, fix them up, and put them in touch with people who understand how important they are. Because he could find valuable things and tell stories about them, old archaeology became more than just a store. Besides selling old things, he started Two Lanes, a closed line that was based on road trips in small-town America. He also wrote Kid Pickers, a book that encourages kids to learn about history by gathering things. But that wasn't the end of his love. Wolfe didn't just want to sell old things. He wished to keep America's past safe. He worked with the National Trust for Historic Preservation on projects like This Place Matters to fix up old houses and small-town landmarks. He took a 1947 Chevy dealership and turned it into a store in LeClaire while saving the building's original look. It was in Columbia, Tennessee, where he helped bring old buildings back to life, showing that history could be kept alive without losing its meaning. Mike Wolfe's journey to make American Pickers began a long time before the cameras were rolling. In his search for fame, he wasn't just another reality TV show. He always picked things up, seeing value in things other people threw away. Wolfe drove back roads for decades, digging through barns and sheds to find old American artifacts. He gathered more than just things, he also gathered stories. He filmed his trips to show how exciting it was to find new things and learn about the people who had made them. Those films were the most important part of his pitch to TV networks. He didn't just sell a show. He sold an idea, a way to make history interesting by linking it to the regular people who kept it alive without knowing it. Wolfe tried to sell his idea for 5 years, but no one bought it. Most networks didn't think it would be interesting to show two guys going around looking for old things, but he wouldn't give up. He always knew that what he was doing was unique. In 2009, all of his hard work paid off. The History Channel saw what could be done and made American Pickers a few months later. The show was an instant hit when it first aired on January 18, 2010. 3.1 million people watched the first show. It was the History Channel's most popular first show since Ice Road Truckers. That number rose to almost 4 million in just a few weeks. The time was just right. History-based reality TV shows like Pawn Stars had already shown that they could work, and American Pickers fit right in with that trend. But its heart made it stand out. You could do more than just buy and sell on this show. It was about the people, the places, and the past facts that were easy to miss but still important. The fact that Wolfe worked with Frank Fritz was a big part of the show's success. They had been friends since middle school and became close because they both liked old things. As kids, neither of them had a father, and they both liked the thrill of the hunt. Wolfe chose Fritz to be a co-host on American Pickers because he was a perfect fit. He made the show funnier and cozier with his laid-back attitude and love of strange collectibles like old toys and oil cans. He could make people feel at ease in front of the camera, which helped collectors tell their best stories. The show felt real because of how well they got along. There wasn't forced drama or exchanges. People could relate to the fact that it was two longtime friends doing what they loved. Even though Fritz had to leave the show because of problems in 2021, it was clear that he had a big impact on its early success. Besides having interesting speakers, American Pickers stood out because of the way it was put together. There was more to each show than a treasure hunt. It was a trip through time. Wolfe made sure that the show didn't just talk about how much something was worth in money. It also talked about what it meant to people in other cultures. Where did it come from? Who had it? Why did it matter? This way of telling stories turned things that didn't seem important into strong links to the past. The show also had a message about being environmentally friendly. It wasn't just about making money to pick. It was about reusing old things. In a time of mass production and disposable society, American Pickers showed that things from the past were still valuable, not just in money but also in terms of what they meant. From the very beginning, American Pickers changed the way history could be shown on TV. It had nothing to do with books or museums. It was about regular people, things that have been lost, and stories that are hidden in strange places. For more than 10 years, Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz traveled together and turned old, rusty junk into valuable finds on American Pickers. They worked together to make the show a hit, but their friendship began to weaken behind the scenes. By the year 2020, everything had broken down. Fritz quit being on the show that year. At first, there was no reason given. Fans kept waiting for him to come back, but he never did. It was revealed on Instagram in July 2021 that Fritz was no longer with the group. He said that their trip had its ups and downs, but that Fritz would be missed. Fritz didn't believe a word of it. During an interview, he said that Wolfe's claim was false. Fritz later said that he and Wolfe hadn't talked in 2 years. Wolfe never checked in with Fritz after he had major back surgery in 2020. Fritz said, "He knew my back was hurt, but he didn't call me to see how I was doing." He felt like someone he had known for more than 40 years had left him. The fight was about more than just being quiet. Fritz thought that Wolfe had taken over the show completely. He said it was skewed 1,000% in his favor. He said they were like a band where Wolfe was always the lead singer and he played backup. Things got even worse when people got sick. Fritz had Crohn's disease for many years, which made him weak and in pain all the time. He couldn't drive in 2020 because he had back surgery. He became hooked on drugs during that time. The network had strict rules about drug use, and Fritz allegedly failed the tests that were required of him. They had another reason to not let him be on the show because of that. Fritz said he hadn't quit, though. He was fired. The fight happened in public. Fritz said Wolfe had pushed him away so that his brother Robbie Wolfe, who was appearing on American Pickers more, could get more attention. Wolfe, on the other hand, said he had really tried to help Fritz and even told him to get help. He said the fight was painful and said it was like losing a brother. It was official by the middle of 2021. The History Channel announced that Fritz was leaving. Fans were mad. Since the first episode in 2010, they had seen him and Wolfe move across America in more than 300 episodes. A lot of people thought the show wasn't the same without him. Some people started campaigns to get him back, but by that time, Fritz's health was more important than TV. Then bad things happened in July 2022. Fritz had a bad stroke that made him partly paralyzed and unable to get out of bed. His health never got better. He died on September 30th, 2024, when he was 60 years old. Wolfe was said to have been by his side in the end, despite everything. In May 2023, they got back in touch in secret. Wolfe wrote a message to Fritz on Instagram after he died, calling him a dreamer, who cared about people and was also funny. It became famous for Mike Wolfe to look through barns and backyards and find lost treasures on American pickers. Over the years, though, his image has been hurt. There are fans who wonder if the show is real, and there are fans who don't like how he runs his business. Recently, his attempts to fix up a small town caused trouble. He has not been stopped by these problems. People now see him differently. In 2016, the show's episode Shelby, Indiana the Barn caused one of the biggest arguments in the show's history. In this episode, Wolfe and his co-worker John Sala went to Alabama to look for a Chevy neon sign. Instead, they found a rare 1967 Shelby Mustang GT500 that had apparently been sitting there without being driven for more than 40 years. Fans quickly asked questions because the find seemed too good to be true. People on Facebook and Reddit were confused about how such a rare car could show up so easily on camera. Some people thought that the production staff scouted sites ahead of time and planned finds ahead of time to make the show more exciting. Others said that reality TV always has some planning, but this scene seemed like it was planned ahead of time. The money information added to the questions. The Mustang was worth about $75,000, even though it was in bad shape. It would cost more than $100,000 to fix up. Wolfe offered to buy it, but the owner said no because it was special to them. This made rumors even stronger. Some fans thought that the setup was planned to be dramatic, while others said that the show needed times like this to keep things interesting. It was one of the most talked about finds in the history of American pickers, no matter what. Outside of the show, people have also said bad things about Wolfe's business. A customer in 2022 said that his shop, Antique Archaeology, had backed out of a deal to take a higher offer. They used the website to place an order, got a confirmation, and then all of a sudden got their money back with no reason. They wrote to the Better Business Bureau and said they were suspicious after accepting a higher deal. I just want them to honor the deal the way they did the first time. In response, Antique Archaeology said that two people bought the same thing on January 21st, 2022, just hours apart. Because of a bug in the system, both purchases went through before the inventory could be updated. Because of this, the second order was returned. Even after this answer, some customers were still angry. There were already complaints about the shop. Many people have complained about the high prices over the years. For example, some have pointed out that plain old signs sell for $900 and brand name socks cost $18. Some people aren't sure about Wolfe's morals, even though the business makes about $900,000 a year. After the trouble with the online sale, his team promised to make the website better so that problems like that wouldn't happen again. Some people have said mean things about Wolfe, but it's not about his show or his shop. It's about what he did to make Columbia, Tennessee different. He paid $700,000 for an old house there in 2022. He spent over $1 million putting it back together the way it was originally built. That was just the start. He also bought more than one house. To bring new business to the town, he wants to build a Tulane vacation rental and a bike shop. Not everyone is happy with his work, but some people do. Some people say that he is raising property prices and changing what Columbia is known for. When plans for a $93 million six-story condo building came out, people were even more worried. Some people in the town are worried that its small-town beauty is going away. Others worry that they will be priced out of their own neighborhood. Wolfe thinks of his job as a way to both keep history alive and make money. He often shares updates on social media about his repair projects and shows off his collection of classic cars, which includes a $42,400 1959 Chevrolet El Camino. But his love of old things hasn't stopped people from criticizing him. People are still arguing about how he affected Columbia, but for many, it brings up a bigger question. What is the difference between revitalization and gentrification? Mike Wolfe has been working hard for years to find lost riches all over the United States, but his personal life has also been hard. He got married to Jody Faith in 2012, and they lived together for almost 10 years. Their marriage had a lot of problems, like Jody's fight with stage 2 non-Hodgkin's cancer. She was told she had cancer in 2013 and fought it for years. In 2020, she was declared cancer-free. But even though they got through that fight together, they broke up. In June 2020, they broke up, and by December 2021, they were divorced. The reason given was irreconcilable differences. The town was very important. Jody got more than $5.8 million in cash and homes in Tennessee and North Carolina. She also got income from American Pickers and child support every month of $2,100. She was given full custody of their daughter, Charlie. Mike has, however, stayed a busy and loving dad. He often posts pictures of himself and Charlie on social media, showing how much he loves her and how determined he is to be there for her no matter what. His difficult job. He had to grow through the breakup, even though it was hard. Mike turned 60 years old on November 6th, 2024. Letitia Klein, his girlfriend, celebrated the event by sending him heartfelt messages about his trip and what he had done. Mike's birthday was more than just another day, a chance to take a step back and think about what's important. He had been on the road for decades, looking for old things and telling stories about past that has been forgotten. Now, though, his attention had changed. He talked about how much he values the few people close to him and how important it is to put real relationships ahead of work. That didn't change his love for picking, though. It was still as strong as ever. He still went all over the country looking for unique things and meeting interesting people with amazing stories. He didn't slow down when he turned 60. He liked the journey even more after going through it. To find lost riches and learn about history one pick at a time, Mike Wolfe has always been on the move. But 2025 began with a problem that no one saw coming. His Nashville vintage shop, Vintage Archaeology, shut down all of a sudden in February. Apparently, there was a gas leak close because of construction work that he had nothing to do with. The store's staff apologized on social media and told customers they were working to fix the problem. Even though they said they'd let us know when they'd return, as of late February, no date has been set. Fans started asking questions right away. Some people thought the closure was only short and would be over soon. Some people wondered if there was something bigger going on behind the scenes. There was more speculation because stores across the country were having a hard time and American Pickers numbers have been going down over the past few years. Could this mean Wolfe was changing his mind? Could the store be having more problems than just construction? This kind of questioning was going on, even though there was no official word about anything more than a short-term shutdown. For many years, the Nashville store was more than just a junk shop. If you like the show or old things, you have to go to this place in Marathon Village, which is an old part of the city. It has been an important part of Wolfe's brand, like his sister store in LeClaire, Iowa. It's a real representation of his love for finding lost pieces of history. Running a real store, on the other hand, is risky because stores can close without warning, costs can go up, and customers' habits can change. When it comes to stores, they can last a long time. Has been in the business long enough to know this. He hasn't said anything about the Nashville store's long-term future, but fans are hoping it opens again soon. Wolfe had a very big year in addition to closing the store. The year 2024 had already been sad, with a death in the family and big changes in people's lives. Friendship with Frank Fritz, who used to be on American Pickers with him, ended in death in September. In the past few years, their relationship had been rough. After Fritz quit the show in 2020 because of health problems, there was trouble between the two. Wolfe was there with him in his last moments, holding his hand as he died, even though they didn't get along. It made them think of the long history they had together. Together, they made something amazing by putting their love of old things into a show that millions of people watched and learned from. Wolfe isn't slowing down, though, even with all of these changes in his life. American Pickers is going on the road again. In February 2025, shooting will start up again in South Carolina. Locals have been asked to take part, and producers are asking people with unique collections and interesting stories to get in touch. This means that the show is trying to get new energy, which could be a good thing, as the number of people who watch it has been going down over the past few years. But Wolfe has always thought that what he does is strong. He has spent decades looking for something special in barns, sheds, and old storage units that no one has used. In addition to the show, he keeps growing his businesses: Columbia Motor Alley, Two Lanes Guest House, and his small renting property. A place with a vintage feel for people who love classic cars are still important parts of his work. He is working on a lot of different projects at the same time, but his main goal is still to find out about past. Mike Wolfe is best known for his role on American Pickers, but he is also very interested in history outside of TV. He has worked hard for years to make his love of old things into something much bigger. His life's work, from writing books to fixing up old houses, has been to keep the past alive in ways that affect millions of people. Kid Pickers, a book he wrote to get kids interested in history through old things, is one of his biggest projects outside of TV. He wants kids to see old things not just as things, but as things that have stories waiting to be found. The book shows them how to look for hidden treasures, learn about their background, and figure out why these facts are important. The way Wolfe sees the world, not just as a collector, but also as a speaker who wants to teach others, is shown in this poem. Because he loved history so much, he made antique archaeology a brand that does more than just picking. He sells clothes and other items that were inspired by his travels. Fans can buy hats, t-shirts, and other things that show how American Pickers makes people want to find new things. There's more to this than just goods, though. People can feel like they are a part of the world he has made and follow his journey. One of his shops is in LeClaire, Iowa, and the other is in Nashville, Tennessee. He has brought unique things from his trips to both places, which makes them more than just shops. These spots bring history to life. Wolfe doesn't just want to buy and sell old things, though. He is set on protecting the spots where important events happened. His fame helps spread the word about historic buildings and sites that might be lost forever, and he works closely with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. This Place Matters, a campaign that urges people to protect historical places that tell America's story, is one of the most important ones he has backed. He cares about protection in more ways than just making people aware of it. He does something about it by buying and fixing up old houses himself. In Columbia, Tennessee, he bought a car lot from 1947 that had been empty for many years. Instead of taking it down or updating it so much that it was no longer recognizable, he carefully fixed it up while keeping its original look. At the moment, it's a store. Even more important, it shows that old buildings don't have to be torn down in order to be used again. Wolfe has also spent a lot of money to make small towns better places to live. He knows that towns lose more than just buildings when old ones go away. They lose their jobs, their memories, and their sense of who they are. That's why he puts his money into places like Columbia, Tennessee, and LeClaire, Iowa. Not only by fixing up houses, but also by giving these towns a future. Nashville's Big Backyard is one of his biggest projects. Its goal is to help small towns with less than 5,000 people grow their economies. This program works in towns from Muscle Shoals, Alabama, to Leip's Fork, Tennessee, to help them get remote workers and tourists. Wolfe is making sure that these places don't just stay alive, but grow by getting money for things like marketing, tourism, and infrastructure. He wants to protect past in more ways than just buildings and antiques. He is also very dedicated to collecting and saving old motorcycles. When he was 13, he fell in love with bikes. From that point on, he couldn't stop riding his motorbike. He bought his first one without telling his mother. He now has more than 130 old bikes in his collection, which grew over the years. A 1913 Indian Twin and a 1934 Harley-Davidson VL are two of the oldest bikes he owns. Wolfe is especially interested in American bikes from before 1920 because they are from the early days of motorized transportation. He doesn't just gather these bikes, he also takes great care of them. Wolfe would rather keep old bikes in their original state than have them fully restored to look brand new like many collectors do. He thinks that each scratch, dent, and piece of rust tells a story. He thinks it's just as important to keep them going as it is to keep them true to themselves. It's not enough for him to just gather motorcycles. He also rides them. Along the way, he meets other bikers who share his love of history on two wheels and goes on long, beautiful trips across the country. He has even worked with museums like Wheels Through Time in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, to help show off rare and important bikes from the past. Wolfe made news in January 2025 when he sold 62 bikes from his collection at auction, a Las Vegas auction held by Meacham. It wasn't just about making sales. There was a change in his attention. Rather than keeping every piece, he wanted to focus on certain times in motorbike history so that other collectors could have the chance to own something unique. He thinks of these bikes as more than just tools. He sees them as storytellers who bring back the spirit of excitement and new ideas from a different time. Wolf's main goal is the same no matter what he does, like collecting old things, fixing up buildings, or bikes. He doesn't want people to forget about the past. For him, old things are valuable not just because they are rare or expensive, but also because they mean something.